AJ Swann and the App State Mountaineers gift-wrapped Southern Miss a victory. It's Locked On Sunbelt.
You are Locked On Sunbelt, your daily podcast on the Sunbelt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. All right, we'll get to half of the conference as we usually do. On Monday, we'll do the other half on Tuesday. We have at least one crossover episode this week, and I'm trying to get an interview with probably the Sunbelt Offensive Player of the Week. All right, so we'll see if that works out to my advantage. Okay. Lots of good ball games. Southern Miss and Arkansas State played really well. Came up short. Arkansas State may have gotten screwed. Cajuns are in trouble. All right. The Cajuns are in flat out trouble. But we start off with the Sun Belt opener, and it was quite the football game. All right. 38-22 Southern Miss. They dominated play in the second half. It got close for a heartbeat after App State touchdown. They recovered the onside kick, but they didn't go anywhere with it, and that was your ball game. All right. But I don't think I've ever seen a game like this. App State had almost 300 yards of offense in the first half, right? JMU and Louisville, neither one of them had 300 yards of offense in the game playing against each other. App State had 278 or 275 in the first half. They went up and down the field. Not one, not two, but 3 interceptions. So I'm good at talking out of both sides of my mouth. You guys know that, all right? Because as we mentioned with JMU specifically, when given the opportunity, you got to make the play. So flat out, Southern Miss, not once, not twice, but 3 times made the play. Doesn't change the fact that every single one of those passes were god-awful. Okay? The first one was AJ Swann panicking because the ball hit the ground on the snap. And so he threw it flat-footed. There was no way the defender was catching that football. All right? Now, many times we all see it. The defender doesn't turn around and hits him in the back. The announcers say, well, if he turned around, he would have intercepted it. That's what happened. Southern Miss intercepts it. Okay. Next possession. By the way, Southern Miss doesn't score after that. They got a punt away. Next possession. Well, not next possession, but it was 10-7 at this point in time. Southern Miss on top. And App State's going to take the lead. App State's going to go down there and take the lead. It's going to be 14-10. AJ Swann throws a fastball swing pass to his running back, not a wide receiver, but to his running back, who was wide open. Dominion was wide open. He throws it 2 yards in front of him. Dominion's got to dive, pops the ball up in the air. Ian Foster is right there, catches it, and takes it the other direction for 99 yards. All right, so instead of 14-10, it's 17-7. Come back. Another drive. App State goes right down the field. AJ Swann doesn't see the linebacker in the end zone, forces it, and throws another interception. He's then replaced, and the offense went really nowhere, although they did have one nice drive to put points on the board. Maybe a couple, actually, but by that time, it's the Southern Miss reserves. So, again, it does not matter on how and why you win the football game, as Brian Kelly would say, but that's a different story. Brian Kelly is trying to put the focus on him rather than on his football team. So it's not Brian Kelly's first rodeo. He knows what he's doing by going after the media, but that's a different story and a different podcast. Matt Moscona will take care of that podcast. Nonetheless, it should not matter, generally speaking, on how you win the football game outside of trying to why you won it, all right, and try to improve on some of those reasons. The reason I say it was gift wrap, I mean, did they score on any of those interceptions? Right? I got an interception, 9 plays, 71 yards. Southern Miss punts. App State scores a touchdown, and then Southern Miss scores a touchdown. App State punts, then Southern Miss gets a field goal. The only points that Southern Miss got on those touchdowns was the 99-yard touchdown return, that's fine. That's 7. But just flip it. Don't even give 21 points to App State. Give 9, take away 7. You got a different ball game. I think they were actually outgained in this game. Let's see what it is here. They were outgained 470 to 389. App State threw it for 375 yards to 279. Braylon Braxton, very efficient, by the way, because he had 279 yards on 22 of 31. App State was 31 of 52, 375. They ran it for about the same, better average because App State ran it more, but Southern Miss ran it for 110 yards and App State 95. App State had the ball for 36 and a half minutes to Southern Miss's 23 and a half minutes. So statistically, how did they lose this ball game? 3 turnovers. Now, it doesn't matter because Southern Miss takes advantage of it. But you need to understand, if we don't get those turnovers next game, is the outcome going to be the same? So that's where I would say, App State cost themselves a football game. All right. I don't know if App State would have won without the 3 interceptions, but it would have been a lot more difficult for Southern Miss to win without those 3 interceptions. Nonetheless, big win for Southern Miss. They are 1-0 in the Sun Belt. They're top the Sun Belt standings. App State going to Boise, and they're going to take on Boise State next week. Southern Miss is getting La Tech. Don't trip up and lose that ball game. All of a sudden, Louisiana Tech is pretty good. All right. Let's quickly do Arkansas State because that was a heck of a football game. Arkansas State did exactly what I wanted them to do. Outside of winning the football game. They lose to Iowa State 24-16. Rocco Beck, the Iowa State quarterback, held 14 to 25, 265 yards. That's a lot of yards on only 14 to 25 passes, but 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Jalen Rayner right there, 19 out of 23, 222, but 1 interception. He did have a touchdown rush. All right. And if you haven't seen it, there was a phantom holding called by Big 12 refs because usually the visiting team gets the referees and they bailed out Iowa State because that would have been the tying touchdown, although you would have to have gone for 2. And so Arkansas State played better. All right. They let that Arkansas debacle fall off their shoulders and they gave Iowa State all they could handle. Easily, do we remember what the spread was? But they easily covered the spread. It was 20 and a half here. Easily covered that spread. So I'm impressed with Arkansas State. Maybe mostly. Let's see what the defensive stats were. Iowa State still put up 452 yards, but you battled in it. They only had 1 turnover, and Arkansas State had a turnover. So they both had a bunch of turnovers. Arkansas State's got to clean up the penalties. 10 penalties for 90 yards, even though a couple of them were phantoms. That's way too many. Iowa State did outgain them 452 to 382. Oddly enough, they both had 20 first downs. Interesting. All right. Arkansas State drops to 1-2. They get a couple of road games. They're at Kennesaw State next week, and then they take on Monroe in their Sun Belt opener. So we shall see if Arkansas State can play that way against Iowa State, basically a team that's vying for a playoff spot. Why can't they play really well in the Sun Belt West, which seems to be wide open these days? All right, let's take a timeout, and we'll come back. Sun Belt got the splash victory they were looking for as Old Dominion throttles Virginia Tech. We'll talk about that after I tell you about the game cap and 5-Hour Energy. Quick question for all you college football fans out there. If you could go back in time, sit in the front row at your school's biggest rivalry game, what hat would you be wearing? Yes, I said hat. For me, it would be the game. Let's see what we got here. These aren't just hats. They're the same vintage styles fans wore back in the 80s and 90s. And guess what? They're still going for the same price they did back then. When you use code Locked On, you'll get your vintage hat for $16.99. Head to thegamescap.com, grab your team's classic bar or retro circle design, and use code Locked On for an exclusive discount because legends wear the game. And 5-Hour Energy. Caffeine just got a flavor upgrade. 5-hour energy shots deliver tasty caffeine in 17 bold flavors. Each 2-ounce shot packs the caffeine of a premium 12-ounce coffee cup, plus vitamin B vitamins and nutrients with 0 sugar and 0 crashes. What I love most is how portable they are. Big taste, tiny shot. You can take it anywhere and get that boost when you need it. Enough with boring, flavorless caffeine. It's time to give your caffeine a flavor upgrade with 5-hour energy shots. Get the favorites you love or be bold and try something new in store and online at www.5hourenergy.com or Amazon today. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Did you notice? And I had to have 2 fans point this out to me, which I appreciate. Getting back to that App State Southern Miss ball game, both athletic departments are listening because both used audio from Locked On Sunbelt. It'd be nice to get a cap, right? I got the game caps. I mean, outside of getting paid, which I'm not going to get, but it'd be nice to get, a John Gruden box. Thanks for allowing us to use your audio in the hype videos. We went back. Texas State did that twice as well. That's a lot of fun. I think that's pretty cool. So other schools are allowed, but it'd be nice to get, a little merch. All right. All right. Old Dominion. I mean, this game wasn't close. Brent Pry has been since relieved of his duties. The AD may get let go as well. 28-0 at half. What's the final score? 45-24? 45-26. It wasn't that close. This game was, let's see what it was. Hold on. It was 45. It was 38-7 heading into the fourth and got to be 45-13. All right. And then the reserves come in. I mean, Virginia Tech looked out of sorts. They're not as good, right? It didn't surprise me. I would tell you, it would surprise me that they got beat that badly. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I predicted a blowout, but we did say Virginia Tech was going to lose the ball game. I did say Old Dominion, forget it covering. I said Old Dominion was going to win that football game. I don't get too many of these right. That one I got right. Colton Joseph, again, I think is going to be the Sunbelt Offensive Player of the week. 16 out of 22, 2 touchdowns, 8 carries, 63 yards, 1 touchdown. Traquan Jones was once again very effective. Not quite 5 carries for 160 some odd yards, but 13 carries, 101 yards, almost 8 yards a carry for a touchdown. It does say Virginia Tech had 433 yards, but those feel like empty calories because they did go down the field a little bit and there were some turnovers. But again, this game just was not all that close at all. Not at any point in time did anybody think Virginia Tech was going to win this ball game. I mean, it was 28-0. And then I'm pretty sure they came out to begin. Virginia Tech went for it on 4th down to begin the fourth quarter. They missed on 4th and 1, I believe. And ODU kicked a field goal. Virginia Tech punted. And eventually they got a touchdown to put them make 38-7. Old Dominion's good. All right. They're off this week, I believe. And they're going to get Liberty, who struggled against Bowling Green this past week. Ethan Vasco, former Chanticleer, is your quarterback there. And it feels like he is struggling as well. All right. Started his career at Kansas, went to Coastal for 2 years, and transferred to Liberty. And they struggled and lost, I believe, to Bowling Green. So that's who Old Dominion has. Again, they're in good shape. All right. Let me see what the rest of their schedule is coming up. They're 2-1 overall. They get Liberty, then they get Coastal, and then they're at Marshall. All right. And then they're at James Madison. The East is going to get very interesting very fast. They get Coastal, Marshall, James Madison, and App all in a row. That ball game is October 25th. The East could be decided before we get to November. Interesting schedule. So we shall keep an eye on that. Okay. We mentioned Arkansas State played well, came up short. They got screwed on the phantom holding call. Still would have needed to convert the 2-point conversion, and still only gets you to be a tie ball game. South Alabama held their own. And if I'm Major Applewhite, clean up just a couple of things and bring more pressure. Again, I didn't go into this game thinking they were going to beat Auburn. I don't think Auburn played an A-plus ball game. I think they played a B-plus ball game, which was good enough to win. And I would tell you, I think probably South Alabama played a B-plus ball game. Maybe even Auburn played B- because they had a bunch of drops. But the times that the Jaguars pressured Jackson Arnold, he got rid of it and didn't know where it was going. All right. The times that they let him sit back there and pick apart the defense, he did. When you rush 4, it doesn't work. They went for it on. They had was it the first series? I think it was the first series. 12 plays, 92 yards, 5 minutes, 51 seconds. All right. They converted a 3rd and 9. All right. They called timeout. It's in midfield. Pat myself on the back. You could kind of see the QB draw coming because they decided they were going for it. And exactly what the announcer said. When you do this, you're going to set yourself up. They did a QB draw and they got 5 yards. All right. Then I think they just sat back and let Jackson Arnold make a pass. Jackson Arnold pass complete to Singleton for 14 yards, 4th and 5. He had to have 3+ seconds before he threw that football. They actually dropped a lineman back and rushed a linebacker. So you could say they picked up the blitz, but they still only rushed 4. When they rushed more than 4 guys and they put pressure on Jackson Arnold, he struggled a little bit. All right. Now, right after they got a 4th down early on in the game, he did complete a pass. Was that right? Was that the next play? That may have been the next play. Yeah. After they get the 14-yard pass for a 1st down, Arnold hits Cam Coleman for the 32-yard touchdown. That's over the top. Coverage was pretty good. Coleman with a nice catch, actually facing the quarterback. So Coleman made a nice play. And again, I tip my cap. All right. But when you're not going to pressure Jackson Arnold and you're going to let him pick you apart, you hear these guys, boy, Jackson Arnold could sit there in the pocket and pick you apart, as I believe 95% of the quarterbacks can do that if they have time, or else they'd be playing a different position. But they didn't go away. Bishop Davenport played, I think, pretty well. All right. Certainly held his own. 18 out of 26, 170 yards, 2 touchdowns. Did throw an interception. I think that was a tipped pass. Jackson Arnold was only 13 out of 24. A lot of those were drops, but a couple of them were under pressure. 142 yards. Kentrell Bullock, I don't think they ran it as great as they would have liked to, or as effectively. Kentrell Bullock, 16 carries, 57 yards. They had 42 carries, 140 yards. Jeremiah Cobb for Auburn was very solid. 19 carries, 119 yards. Jackson Arnold had the 2 touchdowns on the ground, so he added 50 yards on the ground. Anthony Eager is coming about. All right. For those who don't remember, I know South Alabama fans know this, but he's in the same class, was in the same high school class as Ryan Williams. He just went to college, I believe, a year early. And Anthony is in just his second year with South Alabama, but first time he's getting some playing time. 8 catches, 55 yards. He looked pretty good. They're going to try and get the ball to him a little bit more often. All right. So let's see where South at. Again, if South can play like that against Auburn, can they play that way against the Sun Belt? They get Coastal this week. That's got to be a win because Coastal is, well, struggling would be the nice way of saying it. South Alabama, an early 2-touchdown favorite, 14.5-point favorite. All right, let's take one more timeout. We'll come back. Cajuns are in trouble. Marshall gets a much-needed victory. So does Georgia Southern. We'll see if we get to do all of that right after I tell you about Prize Picks and then FanDuel. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the daily fantasy app where making the right call can actually pay off. You and I make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right means cashing in. With football back, PrizePicks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and you can turn your takes into real prizes all in less than 60 seconds. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONCollege for $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. And FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So are you ready to play? How do you win the $5 bet? You get $300 in bonus bets. How do you beat that? So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. All right, Dave Schultz, Lockdown Sunbelt, your teams every day. Went through some of the potential upsets. Texas State didn't. That game got away from. We'll do more with that later on in the week. I didn't think Auburn can pull an upset off. I did think Texas State could, but I thought ODU could. And the Cajuns fans like, well, why not the Cajuns? Cajuns can't throw forward pass. Missouri knows that. And they're not going to allow them to run the football. And that's what happened. All right. And they got blown out. And once again, I mean, you hate to pick on the kid. I don't really mean to do that. But do we think Daniel Beal is a Division I college football player? I mean, I know he's young. He's in his second year. Isn't he let me see here. Is he a redshirt sophomore? Wouldn't that make it his third year? Let's see here. No, redshirt freshman. Okay. So it's in his second year. Okay. I mean, not really good. 1 of 8 for 5 yards. They're not even passing it. They just passed it 14 times because they can't. Zalon Perry had a good game, had a 84-yard touchdown run, 1 touchdown late in the ball game, or I guess in the second quarter. Daniel Beal has 2 carries for minus 14 yards, so he was sacked. I mean, Ahmad Hardy, former Monroe Warhawk, ULM Warhawk, 22 carries, 250 yards, 3 touchdowns. I think he had a pretty good game against them last year, but that was all they had, so the Cajuns could key on him. But I mean, just listen to this play-by-play. Cajuns go 3 and out, 10-play, 73-yard drive for Missouri. All right? You did have a pass complete to Kevin Coleman for 4 yards. Ahmad Hardy run, 10 yards. Ahmad Hardy run, 8 yards. Ahmad Hardy run, 14 yards. Pribula, the quarterback, 4 yards run. Pass complete to Kevin Coleman for 12 yards. Jamal Roberts run for 7 yards. Jamal Roberts run for 7 yards. Ahmad Hardy run, no gain. Ahmad Hardy, 7-yard touchdown run. I mean, all they did was run the football. It was almost like Missouri was yelling, "We're running the football, and you can't stop us." Cajuns fans are very, very anxious because it appears it's like a lost season. And the thing is, it's not necessarily even Daniel Beal's fault because it's not like they put up 35 points and lost to Rice. They put up 12. Now, Walker Howard got hurt. Maybe it would get better in the second and third game. One would have hoped that Daniel Beal would have. And no one expects him to be a Heisman Trophy winner, but you need to look like a competent quarterback. And we're not sure that he is. Or Lunch, at that fact of the matter. I mean, you just can't have 4 yards passing in a college football game. That is beyond embarrassing. So you just can't do that. And that's what they had. I mean, Lunch Winfield was 1 of 6 minus 1 yard passing. So they had a grand total of 4 yards passing. I mean, that's just, who knows what's coming. They got a banged up offensive line. I'm going to put the rest. I don't think Desmo's going anywhere. I don't know what you guys are thinking. All right. The program has no money to buy Mike Desmo out, who just signed a contract extension. It is not going to happen. You guys got to get that out of your mind. It's not happening. They just spent a lot of money on a college basketball coach. They just spent a lot of money on a softball coach. Couldn't even spend enough money to get the pitching coach that they wanted because they don't have enough money. They ain't firing Mike Desmo. Sorry, just to let you know. There's no money to do it. They don't have enough money to pay him, and they don't have enough money to go get the other coaches. The Cajuns are not in a financial situation to where they can be paying two coaches. Not yet, anyway. All right. And they just extended his contract. You better deal with it because he's not going anywhere. All right. Could have a lost season. Those things happen. We see what happened last year with Florida State. This year with Florida State, things can turn around fast. But he's not going anywhere. All right. Just to let you know. All right. On a better note, Marshall got their win 38-7 over Eastern Kentucky, and maybe they have their quarterback, Carlos Del Rio Wilson. He didn't throw it for much either, 7 out of 9, 108, but 2 touchdown passes. He did run it 13 times for 58 yards. Jacque Long got in there. He passed it for a little bit more running, 10 carries, 50 yards. Also had a touchdown. Just a relatively easy win. This was a 31-0 ball game in at halftime, and all Marshall. And good to maybe we'll see if they put that to rest with the quarterback situation. Marshall gets Middle Tennessee State, who came back and beat Nevada over the weekend. They are at Middle Tennessee State this week. All right, so we'll see how that goes. So congratulations to Tony Gibson picking up his first win as a college football head coach. All right. Georgia Southern survives Jacksonville State. Overall, I'm going to tell you, entertaining football game, right? I mean, this was not a boring football game. You were probably not all that thrilled if you were a Georgia Southern fan watching this ball game on a regular basis, because it went back and forth. Georgia Southern leads 7-0. It ended up being 14-7, Georgia Southern, 14-14. Georgia Southern led 17-14. They led 24-14. It got to be 24-17 and 31-17, 31-24, 31-27. Jacksonville State takes a lead before the fourth quarter, 34-31. Georgia Southern ties it up, and then they do score, making it a touchdown, 41-34. So they were down 34-31. They get a 4-minute drive to the Eagles, only kick a field goal, but get a 3-and-out. And then they go down 6 plays, 65 yards, and win the ball game. They did have a nice 4-minute drive, that 4-minute offense, where they just put the ball game away. So that was a much-needed win for Georgia Southern. It does not hide the fact that, the defense stinks. They gave up 400 yards to Jacksonville State, 180 yards in the air, 214 yards on the ground, 5 yards a carry on the ground. Ouch. That's going to have to get cleaned up. Who does Georgia Southern have next? They get Maine, so that's probably going to be a win. Then they get a big ball game at James Madison. I mean, their season could come, I don't want to say crashing down, but could be headed in the wrong direction with that game against James Madison. We'll see how that goes. All right. We will do the rest of the Sun Belt later on this week. We are going to get a crossover edition with Spencer McLaughlin talking App State and Boise State. All right. That's a big ball game for Boise State. And you got to play well. They didn't play well. And AJ Swann's got to play better, or else they're not going to win too many games at all. And especially, it's like a closer blowing ball games. You can't go down the field 3 times and throw interceptions. All right. You can't do it. And none of those passes were necessarily under duress or under pressure or, throwing back against his body. They were just poor throws. So we'll see how that goes moving forward. And we did put in the request for Colton Joseph. We'll see if we can work that out. Probably going to have to be after his practice one night, because I'm not off until Thursday, and we want to preview the episode on Friday. We could have a bonus episode. We could do that. So we'll see if we can get him after practice. I don't know when ODU practices, but I'm not available until the evenings this week, not off until Thursday and then Friday. All right. Hope you enjoyed the football. Big wins for Southern Miss and ODU, and good games played by Arkansas State and South Alabama. We'll see if they can keep that going once they play competition at their level. And Marshall gets a win. Georgia Southern gets a win. Cajuns are in deep doo-doo. Yeah, Cajuns are in deep doo-doo. All right, we will, and again, thank you so much for the continued support. We put those videos out when we can during the weekend to keep you guys entertained. And we did get a lot of people watching, so I do appreciate that. All right, we will be back on Tuesday with another edition of Lockdown Sunbelt, your teams every day. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We'll talk to you tomorrow.